Good evening. This is Rudy Giuliani with America's Mayor Live, and in and in the background, in the background, you are listening to one of the greatest pieces of music ever written by anyone anywhere. Certainly, one of the top five. The Passion, according to St. Matthew, by Johann Sebastian Bach. So you just get a little feel for it because we're in Holy Week. Yesterday, as you know, was Palm Sunday, and they recited, I thought it was the St. Luke Passion yesterday. I always consider this the most complete passion, both in regard to text and maybe Bach's best piece of music. Very hard because Johann Sebastian Bach, and I'll put this down for a bit here because Johann Sebastian Bach was a religious composer, meaning he worked for a church. And he, several, the biggest ones, the biggest Lutheran churches in Germany. He was the Kapellmeister, which was a very significant position. And it required him to write thousands, I think thousands of pieces of music, certainly hundreds, thousands. So every Sunday, except maybe in the summer, he would have to write an oratorio. And the oratorio was the gospel for that Sunday, which in those days, the Lutheran Church was just right out of being the Catholic Church. So it's pretty much the same liturgy, the same gospels. The Easter Passion for Lutherans and for Catholics is exactly the same. So he began by doing the oratorios, and then they decided that for Good Friday and for the Holy Week they would do a group of concertos, and they put them together, like one for Palm Sunday, and one for Holy Thursday, and one for Good Friday. I'm sure they did one for Good Friday. Well, I think they did. And then one on Easter, and then one on the week after Easter. And they were performed usually in two churches. His biggest assignment was Leipzig. And this one piece of music, the St. Matthew's Passion, if you were going to list the five greatest pieces of music ever written, this would be one of the five. And not just most. The one I'm playing here has 2.3 million views so far, and this is on YouTube. It also became the basis for a lot of other composers creating music. Now, just to complete Bach, because we'll play a little more of him during the week, particularly as we get into the very holy days of Holy Thursday and Good Friday. Bach also wrote a St. John's Passion, which is shorter. Some people like it better. It's more lyrical. This is more choral. And he also wrote another piece of music that scholars would argue was better, the B minor Mass. Interestingly, a Catholic Mass. I told you he was a Lutheran, but he wrote a Mass for the Catholic Church. So that Mass is in Latin, which would mean if you listen to it with me, you would go on the FBI terrorist list, because Catholics who listen or like the Latin Mass, are terrorists. We're very, very dangerous people. That's why I'm suspended from the bar, because I create violence. I'm trying to remember when, but it doesn't matter, because the communists who run New York, otherwise known as the Democrat Party, and the Bar Association, which is a part of the Communist Party of New York, have said so, and therefore, somebody like James can bring a case for fraud, get a judge who's a complete political hack appointee, never even had an opponent when he ran for election because the Democrat machine put him there. And they can come up with, what was the original one? $454 million. You asked them, what is that based on? The answer, honestly, would be nothing. It's very hard for me to figure out how they got to the 454, since this one part of the evidence at the trial, I'm very sure of, nobody lost any money. Now, you want to get really weird? People made money. Nobody's complaining except that pig. I'm calling her a pig going back to Bloomberg's inauguration, which I wasn't at, not his inauguration, de Blasio's, which I wasn't at. Hard for me to go to an inauguration of a communist. That was just hard. It's like, it was, I mean, the guy went to Cuba on his honeymoon. That's de Blasio. I mean, can you believe that? I mean, this is what we live with in New York. The guy went to Cuba on his honeymoon. Yeah, he went to Moscow on his honeymoon. And these guys now have influence in this country, and it's beginning to show. So the appellate division knocked it down to 175 million, which I don't know. Obviously, it's better. If you would ask them what's that based on, there are other ways I could illustrate it. I won't. Based on nothing. See, damages in a case are based on something like we had a contract and I was going to build your house for you, and I only built half your house. Now it's going to cost you $300,000 to finish your house. So now I have to pay you $300,000 in damages, and probably it's going to cost you a little more. So I have to pay the rest of it. And then maybe, I'm not sure that kind of case would bring punitive damages, but maybe there'd be some punitive damages or something like that. So it would all, but it'd all be related to the $300,000 that you lost. So maybe it'd come out at 400,000 or 450 or something that bore a rational, these are legal words now, rational relationship to the loss. How can you have rational relationship to the gain? What are they going to give him money? Maybe the bank should give him a percentage of the money he made for them. This case is so ridiculous. I don't know. I don't even believe myself when I listen to myself describing it. I can't believe I'm in a American legal system that has a case like this, much less New York. And they suspended me from the bar. I will predict without any doubt they'll disbar me, probably unanimously, because none of them would have a career left in the Democratic Party if they didn't. So let's get absolutely straight down to it, right? So I guess that explains why we have things like this, because we have a completely corrupt system. Now, we've had a corrupt judiciary in this city for a long, long time, and nobody has the guts to expose it. You think these judges are elected. They're not. They're appointed by the Democratic district leaders. The Democratic district leaders descend directly from Tammany Hall. So he's down to 175. It looks like he has 10 days to make it. He has any number of ways that he can do that. And at least that has passed. And if this case isn't reversed, I'd be shocked. When this case goes up on final appeal, if it doesn't get reversed, it'll be the only time that Engoron hasn't been reversed in this case. He's been reversed already, I can't remember if it's 5 or 7 times. I have never heard of a judge reversed 5 times in one case. Usually judges like that are taken off the bench in a straitjacket and put somewhere. I mean, the court of the appellate division has to say to itself, what the hell are we doing reversing him? What is he doing if we have to reverse him so often? Well, they know what he's doing. He's playing politics. He's doing the same thing Bragg is doing. Bragg doesn't have a case. So that's the other case that came up today. That's going to go to trial on April 15th, like hell it is. I mean, that's another ridiculous case. Trump paid settlements to 2 women who had claims against him, which he denies. He has a right to do that, right? We all do. We have a right to settle cases. Right? We even have a right to pay when we're not guilty, because the damages should be so great that it's worth it. I mean, suppose when I was mayor, that was very hard for me, because they came to me and they said, we can settle all these cases, these great prices. And I said, but these are shyster cases, meaning, crooked lawyers slip and fall. They'll get a phony doctor. It happens. And my controller, who was of the other party and actually went to jail eventually, wasn't my controller. He was the ones the Democrats in New York elected. Republicans don't do stuff like that usually. It's rare. I tried to resist for the longest time, but I had to settle some of those cases, even based on my solid lawyers like Paul Crotty and Mike Hess, because I could get a settlement for 20 grand and the city might end up having to pay $2 million. 20 grand was nothing. 2 million would hurt the taxpayers. So I had to make decisions like that. That's what happens in these cases. These allegations between men and women, if you think you can figure them out, you're God. When you got one-on-one, you got 50-50, my friend. Don't give me this women don't lie crap or men don't lie crap. And don't tell me one lies more than the other. You know why they lie? Because they're human. Women are human and men are human. I don't know if Justice Jackson knows that, but that she could have begun her definition of woman by saying, well, a woman is a human. And we talk about a human woman. I don't think we call animals women. I don't know. Okay. So that case is going to go to trial on April 15th. They just got all kinds of discovery from the U.S. attorney explaining why the U.S. attorney didn't bring this case. That could be interesting. One of the reasons is that they wouldn't put Michael Cohen on the witness stand because they can't vouch for his credibility, but Bragg would put, Satan on the witness stand. Now, how is it the U.S. attorney, Democrat, won't put the guy on the stand because he's afraid that he's going to lead to convicting an innocent man, but Bragg doesn't have any problem with the same guy? Is it because Soros pays for Bragg? You realize how dirty these cases are? I could do this with the one in Georgia if you want. You want to do it with Smith? Jesus, Smith makes up crimes. He's even been caught doing it by the Supreme Court. So Trump had a big win on that one. The April 15th date, right now, I would consider a loss, but I don't see how it goes to trial. There's going to be plenty of exculpatory evidence in that U.S. attorney's file. Again, they declined to bring the very case that Bragg has now brought on a much weaker theory, because he's using a federal statute to prosecute him for a felony. I don't know what made Bragg a federal prosecutor. I think even the Democrat Party can't do that. Even the Communist Democratic Party can't do that. Let's see what happens. The Moscow attack. The Moscow attack is getting complicated as hell. And no matter who these people are, no matter what country they're in, an awful lot of good people died that day. People of Russia are not bad people. People of Russia are victimized people. Just like the people of Ukraine, Russia's victimized by whatever you want to call it. I mean, they would say they're not communists. I don't think they actually are communists in the sense that they follow a communist economic system, but I do think they follow a communist political system. So let's call them a dictatorship. That wouldn't be hard, right? With Putin sitting there. So here are the theories, and it's too early to really pick one. Theory number one is, as it is alleged to be, an attack by ISIS-K. That would make sense. ISIS-K is from Afghanistan. The Afghanis still hate the Russians for what the Russians did or didn't do to them in the long war they had. I believe, I believe, and I think I'd be borne out even by people on the other side, that the Afghanis bear generally even more hatred for the Russians than they do for us, because we conduct war differently. And we also had an awful lot of allies in Afghanistan, which they didn't have. Now, it might be a little different in the fact that when Biden came in, we double-crossed those allies and got a lot of them killed, which Bush didn't do, and even Obama didn't do. Stop. Both Obama and Trump had a chance to pull out, and they stopped. And then Trump put it off for a date to make a decision. And then Biden says, well, Trump set the date, as if he couldn't do anything about it. He came into office, and in 2 days, he changed everything. He did things that were unconstitutional, had to be reversed in reversing Trump. It wouldn't be at all unconstitutional for him to say, no, I'm going to change the date. In fact, he did change the date, and he moved it like the creep that he is to September 11 because he wanted to do it on September 11. And eventually his ass lickers talked him out of it. That's Miley and the other general who disgusting people. But ISIS K comes out of there. Now, think about this. I don't know if Putin's going to make a big point of this. I bet they had lots of American arms. I mean, they're part of the group that feasted on the 85 billion in arms that we left behind for the various groups of ISIS, Taliban, like people like that. Some of whom have used them to kill Americans already. Thank you, Joe. That's among the Americans you've gotten killed. So could it be ISIS K? Yeah. Islamic, and the reason? They stated it. It's getting close to Easter, and they wanted to kill Christians. A good opportunity to kill Christians. They want to kill Christians all the time. This has been going on for centuries between the Russian Orthodox, Ukrainian Orthodox, Catholic Orthodox, Polish, and the Ottoman Empire. Remember? The Ottoman Empire and the Greeks. Greek Independence Day today. Who did Greece declare independence against to go to war with? The Ottoman Empire. What's the Ottoman Empire? A Muslim empire. Turkey, the country that committed genocide against Armenia. Turkey, the country that committed a form of genocide against Greece. Why? They wanted to kill Christians. Why is Azerbaijan doing it now to Armenia? They want to kill Christians. Want to wake up? They're killing Christians all over the world. Africa, it's ongoing, but nobody cares when Christians get killed. Nobody cares.
Mayor, what do you think of the theory? Well, two theories.
Okay, but that's one theory.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's right.
Yeah.
The other theory is it's Ukraine. They certainly have a motive to do it, to disrupt things in. They don't have the credentials to do it. Meaning, usually you look to does a group do this kind of thing? This was carried out like an ISIS attack, very, very professionally. There's no history of Ukraine doing anything like this. It'd be rare, and it'd be kind of exceptional for them to pull it off. I don't think Ukraine could actually pull it off. I don't think they could get the people in there and do what ISIS-K did. I mean, not that the Ukrainians aren't great warriors, but they're not terrorists. It's a different kind of thing. I'm not sure we could do it. Our soldiers couldn't do this. It would have to be special forces or something. So I think you can 98% rule out Ukraine. It would have to be like some kind of renegade group that wants to cause trouble. They also would know if they got caught at it, they would lose all European support, and it would turn things around on them. And one thing, they're not as stupid. So I would say not even 98%. The Ukrainians didn't do it. Who's left? Putin. Not terribly different than what he did in 1999 when he wanted to become president. It is alleged and written in a book. Let me see if I can get you the name of that book so you can check it out for yourself. I just had a chance to look at a few pages in it, but I read it way back. So far back that I don't remember it that well. It's by Gary Kasparov, but I want to get the name of it. Well, Gary Kasparov does a pretty good job. Not to say he proves. He certainly gives you a great argument that Putin did a false flag group of attacks in order to get himself to be the #1 candidate for president. And that was in 1999 when he pulled off a series of terrorist apartment bombings in Russia and used that as an excuse for Winter is Coming is the name of the book, by the way, and used it as the basis and an excuse to beat the living daylights out of Chechnya, just to beat them into submission, become the hero. Now, Chechens were killers too. And not all, again, Chechens had a very large and very, Chechens had done terrorist attacks in Moscow. So he copied them, says Kasparov, and many, many others, I should add, and used it as an excuse for the Chechen War, which he ran, and it made him a hero, and he got elected. He then repeated that, it is alleged, a few years later with the bombing of the children in Chechnya. Now, whether he actually did that or took advantage of it to do the following. Now, this I happen to have been in Russia when it happened. I saw the big demonstration in the Kremlin for the children. It was, I mean, when you go there and you see them crying for their children, you realize that they're victims of Putin. They cry for their children just the same way you cry for your children. They just happen to have Putin and we happen to have Biden. Are we Biden? Thank God, no. But there he used it as an excuse to take away all of the elected governors. I mean, it happened in Chechnya. You take away the governorship in Chechnya if you're that kind of a dictator, right? What the hell do you have to take away the governor in Siberia for? Because you're a dictator and it's an excuse. So I don't know that he did. I've never seen proof, although there were allegations that he was behind that. That one I think he opportunistically took advantage of to do drastic things. So here's the thing that I would come down on. I think ultimately it'll turn out to be ISIS-K, not Putin. I think, but it could be Putin. 60-40. If it is ISIS-K, and we should assume that it is for our benefit, that means they're a hell of a threat to us. If they can pull this off in Moscow, I mean, I don't know if I do believe, and you'll find this strange, I believe New York is probably better defended than Moscow, even with the degradation in numbers and expertise and everything else. But this shows ISIS-K is back. And they also have had 3 years to bring anybody they want in here. And our FBI director is running around like a chicken without a head, trying to tell us it's going to happen, largely because he let it happen for the last 3 years. And he's worried that he's going to be blamed for it. Well, he is going to be blamed for it. And his warnings now mean nothing. So we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we'll take a look at double-crossing our best friend and greatest ally, a disgrace.
The new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Any better? Bring it down.
All right, and we're back.
We are back, and we're going to have Dr. Maria with us in a minute. Do you want to start coming over, Dr. Maria, and you can set her up? But I'm going to say something to get it off my chest here. given the fact that this is Easter, Passover coming up. It was just Purim. The Biden administration, the Biden regime, I prefer, is in an all-out war with Israel. I mean, they got all the guns pointed at Israel. I mean, we begin with the fact that Biden himself has drawn a red line, and the red line is if Israel attacks Rafah, which they have to do really to come close to destroying Hamas, then he's going to what? He's not going to support Israel anymore, kind of, he said the first time. Then, typical Biden, he kind of erases that position and he moves from red to a pink line, I guess. Basically, Obama's lines all should have been yellow for cowardly. And the pink line is, I'm not going to take their nuclear defense from them. I'm not going to take the Iron Dome. Now, a lot of people say that meant he took it back completely, but I read it for what he said. I'm not going to take away the Iron Dome, which means he's not going to do anything else for them. But who knows? What he's doing is he's trying to threaten them. So then, Ted, would you mind turning that around just a little right there? That there, so I can see it a little better. Thank you. Yeah, turn it toward. Oh, that's very good. So, so that's threat number one. Threat number two is Blinken. Every day, Blinken says something to threaten. Come on in, Dr. Maria.
You just told me to go out.
Come on in. I run the show, not Ted. Here. Share them with me, kid.
Okay.
All right. Now,
How are you doing, Mayor?
I'm doing well, except I'm very,
Push
Can you
over
move over,
a little
Mayor?
bit.
yeah, I'm getting myself upset. Maybe you can calm me down, doctor.
Well,
I'm getting myself
Tell me
upset
about
about Biden double crossing Israel. I don't like double crosses. I like loyalty to friends.
it's terrible what's happening, and it seems like it's the whole Democrat Party. I have so many good friends that belong to the Democrat Party, and I don't
I used to.
understand
I used
why they're not leaving the party, because they actually don't agree with Biden and his administration. But
They got themselves all frightened about Trump, like he's some kind of monster or something, right?
well, I tell you, a vote for Trump, he's a human being. He makes mistakes. He's not perfect. Nobody is. I'm not, you're not. But look at the difference. You want a dictator like Biden? You want somebody who hates America, who's letting terrorists in? Do you think what happened in Moscow by ISIS-K is not going to happen here?
I don't think it would have happened with Trump, but okay.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I think Democrats need to vote for Trump. If you don't want to leave your party, change just for this election to vote for Trump. And that'll give the Democrats that they need to come back to the center. This radical hatred of their own country cannot stand in this lawlessness.
Yeah.
What they're doing with Israel
So you have him.
really terrible.
He draws a red line, tells them we'll take away your support. Then we'll let you have Iron Dome, but he will take away your support if you go to Rafah. Then he gets stinking Blinken to go there every day and say the same thing. Then Schumer double crosses his own people.
His own
people.
hypocrite.
He's a Jewish person. I mean, I don't know. It's not for me, I guess, to define loyalty or not for Jewish people. But I think anybody recoils at seeing that slime ball do what he did. And when he said that Netanyahu should be removed. Plus, here's the double standard. He's
Should be removed.
He's interfering in an election in another country. Isn't that what they're going after Trump for a couple of years ago? And going after the Russians for interfering in the Trump election? Well, how is he any better than the Russians interfering in this election?
How dare he?
I mean,
He doesn't even apologize.
against his own people.
Yeah.
Then we get you know who that is?
Kamala.
Goes to Puerto Rico. She goes to Puerto Rico and she draws her own red line. I don't even think she knows what it is, by the way.
By the way, I'm a woman. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm a woman. And my female friends are all embarrassed that Kamala Harris is the first female vice president because there's so many bright women who would do well to represent this country and help form policy to protect American citizens. She is so, I hate to say this, I hate it. You know, I'm not like
What word would you use?
stupid.
Yeah. Is that what the laugh is all about? Is that a stupid laugh or a nervous laugh?
A nervous laugh. I really don't know, but she's just stupid. And they're singing about her in Spanish, saying, Kamala, Kamala, what are you doing?
Kamala, you're a jackass.
So
See?
her aide tells her,
See the smile on her face?
can I see that?
Yeah.
Her aide tells her right after this, look at the whispering over there. By the way, they're talking about you and it's not very nice.
Well, you know what they're saying?
Free Palestine.
You know what they're saying? What a jackass.
Saying cray.
Where did she come from? God, is she clean?
Ted is looking for that clip right now.
Yeah, Ted, you got that clip, Ted? I think we got a couple of clips we're going to go back on that we missed that are good.
So here it is.
Long
they
live free
seeing it?
Palestine.
Oh, they're not seeing it. Okay. All right. So that,
10 seconds.
okay. In 10 seconds, you will be seeing it if you haven't
So
seen
this
it
is,
yet.
I'm talking about how the whole administration is going after them. Kamala, Schumer, stinking Blinken.
We don't have one good person in the White House. Not one good in this administration. Okay, so now
You see,
you're seeing
she's clapping.
clip. So she's clapping along. And the aide is trying to tell her, they're making fun of you. They're talking about free Palestine. Oh, okay. Well, I won't clap, but I'll nod my head repeatedly. So, it's so bizarre. I would be, if I learned they were making fun of me and saying free Palestine, I'd be right in their face saying, get the hell away from me. I am going to stand by Israel.
The woman,
What happened to them on October 7th is evil.
the woman with it looks more concerned than her. She's now trying to explain to her. Well, first she's trying to explain to her where Palestine is. She's saying Palestine is a very small country,
Well,
but it's not a country yet. But they want to be a country, and our boss wants them to be a country, although they're terrorists.
Vote. He'll turn on you. Can I just tell you? He'll do it so you vote for him, Michigan Muslims, and then he's going to turn on you because he does everything for votes. He pandered to people who voluntarily wanted a student loan and screwed other people who went to plumbing school or chose not even to go to school, and that's their right to. But yet their tax dollars are going to go for loan forgiveness for somebody who voluntarily signed to get a loan.
Everything now, and it's kind of early. I mean, usually we didn't screw around with foreign policy for domestic purposes. Clinton is the first one with wag the tail that was really accused of doing that. And he has so little morals that I would suggest that he probably did. But I don't think American presidents largely screw around with foreign policy. But he doesn't just screw around with it. It drives him. For example, this whole thing with Israel is, as you say, I think it's driven by two things, though. I think it's driven by the Islamic vote and the fear they're going to stay home.
Yeah.
But I also think it's driven by his love of Iran and his fealty to Iran, because this is what Iran wants. And he does everything Iran wants. And Iran is through their surrogates is kicking the hell out of us, and we're not doing anything. And we're giving them money.
And they fund every terrorist organization, every one of them. And well, I can go on and on. Biden lifted all the sanctions that were
killing Americans.
Place. He lifted the when we had secured monies or frozen some of their assets. He lifted all that. He's a traitor to you and I. To him, there's no we the people. He doesn't even know the Constitution. I challenge any reporter who gets an earshot of him to yell to him and ask him to recite actually the First Amendment. See if he knows the First Amendment.
Oh, well, Kamala would say the First Amendment
is bigger than
the First Amendment
than the Second Amendment.
because it's the first one. But that means if there's a First Amendment children, there's also a Second Amendment. And I seem to think that we Democrat communists are against the Second Amendment because it has to do with guns. And then there's a Third and Fourth Amendment, but I don't know much about them. I don't remember how many there are. There are a lot of them, really. There are a lot of amendments. Did you know that?
Yeah. So
I think there are more amendments than commandments, I think. So let's go into a couple of the interesting stories like Carville. Carville made an admission that I think, look,
he's saying these things, though he has for months now.
yeah, but he made an admission that really is very important. They keep trying to compare Trump to Biden. They say, oh, he mixes this up and he mixes that up. And Carville says they keep doing that, they're going to get shellacked. Now, don't tell me that Biden has more energy or cognition than Trump, because it's evident that, yeah, Trump's got word salads, but he produces energy, a lot of it, and he seems to be with it. Come on. Is there a comparison between the two?
In the primaries, I was very surprised in New Hampshire. First in the nation primary. It's our state law. That's where I live in New Hampshire. Biden snubs us. This is a tradition that's gone on for quite a long time. Everybody respects it. Biden sticks up his middle finger to us in New Hampshire. So you would think all the Democrats, if they wanted to vote, would have voted for Marianne Williamson and that other guy that was, I forget his name. But anyways, but no. People voted for Biden. How could you do that? You want to be used? You want to be a doormat? The guy wants to be a dictator. Look at how he behaved in the pandemic. Never forget. He and the Faucis of the world try to silence science.
I cover up for China.
Yeah, and silence is not absolute. We're supposed to ask why. Where did you get that information? What's the research like? They didn't even want to hear that. Scientists knew. Well, we knew so much, and they tried to silence us. They tried to take away people's certifications, and then they told you and me not to go to restaurants, but they got to go to restaurants. They got to have their hair done. Please don't forget when it comes to voting, because there'll be more of the same. They saw that they could take advantage of
Petty
us.
little dictators.
Yes, and it's going to go further. Remember what Klaus Schwab said?
Klaus Schwab.
You'll have nothing and you'll like it. They want a one world government where they, the elite, have all the power and we will have.
Remember when they wanted us all to have cards? I know why Klaus did that, because he was yearning for the day that he could say, show me your papers. Show me your papers. I will not let you in unless you show me your papers. I'm sorry, you go onto that train. Well, you don't think he's a freaking dictator? I do.
I do.
His
actions show that he does. Look at Ted's raising his hand. All the rest of the live audience is raising his hand.
And Soros, Soros and Prince Obama want one world, which they think they're going to control. Go tell Xi Jinping that. You think any one of those three sissy boys is a match for Xi Jinping?
Ow. Look at Klaus Schwab beckoning.
Biden to be peeing in his pants. When he'd go meet with Putin, he was peeing in his pants. You would see him. Putin would look at him, and Putin would look down at his pants and say, "Oh, that little shit."
Well, he pooped his pants.
Oh, I was going to say Biden. That was Biden, but I tell you,
even respect this Pope. I think he's a socialist. I think he's.
Yeah, but he didn't have to go through that.
Right? With the stench of poop in the pants.
Can we send him a note that most
New York guy too that pooped in his pants? What was it? The little guy that waddles like a penguin. He got bariatric surgery, but it didn't work. Well, Larry.
Oh, you can't even see him anymore.
You know who I'm talking about?
Really I don't. Oh, the congressman?
Yeah, he's a congressman, right?
What? Rudy? Come on, he was a good one. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Impeachments too.
Hey, Cheryl, it's right on the tip of my tongue. Help us out. The congressman from Manhattan.
Yeah, somebody write it in the comments, quick.
There it is.
He was involved with the
Gerald Nadler. I
Ah,
remember that one. Jerry Nadler.
I was thinking of I was thinking of the one from Massachusetts who's on Newsmax every Saturday.
With our friend Brianna. Oh.
I don't know.
Barney Frank.
Barney Frank.
Get some.
I don't know why they put him on, but they photograph him. They photograph him really funny like this. Like, I don't know. Can you do it? They photograph him down here. They photograph
You
him-
want
I'm
to?
gonna see if I can get my head like that.
No,
It's not Rita
Yeah.
Cosby.
But I'm
not
putting
gonna
my head up.
Take the camera,
But the camera is like here.
and it's like
And it
aimed up.
goes up on it. It completely. He's not exactly a good looker to start with, and
He was
and it's
corrupt
early
with
on
it.
Saturday. If kids watching cartoons switch onto that channel and see that, they're gonna go.
It's quite something.
And then he interrupts everybody.
His
Yeah.
dog
And then
crashed
he
the
const-
banking into
And then he went to work for a bank to make a lot of money.
It's unbelievable.
And then he just yells and screams and interrupts everyone. And Rita tries to control him.
I know.
But it's almost at the point where you don't understand. The last time he was on last week, he had a really good opponent, and she just very calmly made her point. And then he started talking over her. He started talking over her, but he talks so fast, and he has a little bit of a speech impediment,
He's got a list.
some kind of a speech
Yeah.
impediment like that.
But I think,
Yeah,
does he put his teeth in?
Yeah.
Stop.
Okay.
Stop it. Stop it.
Then you talk about what campaign, and then and company come, and then I from Todd Frank.
For a minute.
Well, we'll find a clip.
Yeah, go see
So that-
that.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
And we're playing. He's
Look at
being Barney
myself.
Frank.
I think that's pretty.
Not
I'm
gonna lie,
going on the road with
It's
this.
not a bad impression. Yeah. Of
The only
Barney.
thing is, there are certain things about him that I promise you I won't imitate. Okay, now fentanyl.
Oh, okay.
I want to get you on fentanyl just quickly. Then we'll come back with the eclipse.
Okay. You know
So-
how I love the.
So fentanyl is now like killing us left and right because of Biden and because the border's open. And this wouldn't happen if the border wasn't open. China's making a fortune. China's getting to conduct a killing war against us without taking any responsibility for us. They must have killed 100,000 of us this year with fentanyl,
Mhm.
and they make money on it.
Yeah.
If you go to war, you got to spend money on it. They're making money on the war, and they're wiping out Americans. And they still insist on calling it an overdose. And I really do think they have to distinguish between overdose and poisoning.
Yeah.
Because it's deceptive. It
Yeah.
could get people killed by
The
not.
fastest growing age groups are these young people who, and I always give the example on Snapchat. They go on Snapchat, they're telling everybody their life story, how they got it so bad because their parents want them in bed by 10 o'clock. And pushers come along, ooh, and seize on that. You poor guy. I have something that was in my grandma's medicine cabinet. It's called Ativan. Here, if you want to buy one for $10, Vimo or whatever they call it, the money, well, it's a look-alike drug. It's not even the real lorazepam. Has no ingredients in it except fentanyl.
Oh my
So that
gosh.
kid never wakes up again. He's dead. He's dead. So that's the fastest growing thing with it. Now, fentanyl has been found in heroin. It's even been found in marijuana. But in 2021, we had over 100,000 poisoning deaths in our country. And what happens is naloxone or Narcan, I'm sure you've heard of it. EMTs, paramedics are saying it's taking us more and more doses to revive somebody. And that's because Narcan, really, we developed that initially for heroin overdose. It works very, very well with heroin overdoses. So we need something different for these synthetic opioids. So the FDA just approved a new drug called the brand name is called Opvee. And it's a nasal spray. It's longer acting. So sometimes what would happen if, say you give somebody Narcan and okay, you wake them up a little bit and then they stop breathing again. So you have to give them more. This OV is much longer acting. It'll last as long, about 7.5 hours, is the synthetic opioid. So, but that's not the end all and beat all. Yes, we want to save lives, but we also want to work with people on getting clean. Addiction is tough. Just think of yourself. If you, like me, I always struggle with the same 10 pounds. I'm up and down 10 pounds all the time, and how hard that is. Think of other things in your life that are difficult, never mind an addiction. It alters your brain chemistry when you start with, especially with heroin. But heroin, opioids, marijuana, it's altering your brain chemistry. So you need a lot of support and a lot of help in different techniques to have you get off of these addictions. But it can't be just we keep giving you medicines. I was really upset when we decided to sell Narcan, and I always use we because it's the medical industry, to let anybody have Narcan without a prescription. Because
So
what
you think
I
not,
saw,
you think, I mean, Narcan, it's a tough argument because they say it saves lives. At the same time, do you think it spreads addiction?
well, that's what that I was just gonna. That's a you're asking me right along the line I was going at. What I saw near my hospital was they would have heroin parties, and they would have one designated person who had multiple syringes of Narcan. So when people, if they took too much heroin and they stopped breathing, someone could give them Narcan right then. So it wasn't teaching them anything. So that was my biggest concern. That's why I think we need to track it. And somehow, I don't have all the answers, but if you dispense a medicine like Opvi or Narcan in somehow we have to track that individual and get them help. Now, the person may refuse that help and it's their right to do it, but we have to make efforts to help them.
Are some of are these other medicines better than Narcan?
Opvi is looking promising because it's longer lasting. I gave the example of so many doses of Narcan having to be used against some of these synthetic overdoses or poisonings. And Opvi is much better for those, for synthetic.
There's a firehouse that I know really, really well. I want to find it right here. There's a firehouse up in Harlem in Spanish, what we call Spanish Harlem, and it is overwhelmed with drug dealers. The drug dealers are going
Not
into
the firehouse.
not in the fire, but all around the firehouse,
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
going into the firemen's cars. They're breaking into the firemen's
Yeah.
cars. It's basically a lot of migrants, a lot of the very, very nice people that want jobs and stuff like that, but they've turned to crime because of us. Adams wants them here because Biden thinks we're going to build America with them, but they're all drug addicts and they're urinating and defecating and doing all kinds of stuff with the firefighters' cars. And it turns out it's 2 blocks from an illegal distribution center.
Oh, I definitely don't believe in that.
Is wrong with
I
us?
definitely don't believe
Legal
Yeah.
needles to give out
Yeah, to give out
poison to kill you?
paraphernalia for it.
I
to
wonder
kill
how
yourself.
often somebody got.
Breaking the law, by the way. Not only is it harmful to yourself and others because these addicts get so desperate for their drug of choice, they're going to break into your home. They're going to do evil things.
Well, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. And we're going to talk about a great event about to come. Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnels Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now. You should
We're
be.
back.
Want to take me off?
Yeah.
Zuckerberg should be hit with an illegal campaign contribution because it was.
Well, you are back on air, Rudolph.
Good. I hope they heard it.
What are you holding there, Mayor?
Well, I'm holding here veggies. And so if you didn't get a chance to have your fruits and veggies tonight, or all of them, or maybe you don't even know how many you're supposed to have, don't worry about it. Get balance in nature.
You know what I struggle with, and this is God's honest truth. If I don't have vegetables, my body feels it and I'll go get vegetables. I just never eat fruit. I don't know what it is. So some people it's the opposite. Like try to get my father, Daddy, to eat a vegetable.
There you go.
Thank you.
I'm good. Don't say I never did anything for you.
Thank you, sir.
There's some fruits. You have some water right there.
Person.
That's right. And be sure to use that promo code Rudy, RUDY.
No, so I'm the opposite.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't always have. I would have enough fruits if I thought about it. Like I could drink endless amounts of water if it was just around. And when it's around, I drink it and it's gone. I get more. But vegetables, I don't know. It has to be like special.
Or Brussels sprouts every single day and never get sick of it. It's like my body.
For sure. Brussels sprouts for
Vegetables,
sure.
especially for women, are very, very important.
Popeye never did it for me. Could I have a little water? So how do we get this, Ted? Well, I'm swallowing you
Visit
and tell these people to please buy it.
Visit www.balanceofnature.com. That's www.balanceofnature.com. And when you use that promo code Rudy, RUDY, you're getting huge savings. And not only are you supporting yourself, your body, your own health, maybe somebody you love, but you're supporting the mayor and everything we're doing here on America's Mayor Live. Balanceofnature.com, promo code Rudy.
Okay.
Thank
Well,
you, Ted.
now Dr. Maria has helped organize this. This is a joint effort. Now I've got now involved in it, and Ted's getting involved in it. And I got really into it big time.
But
The total eclipse.
yes, so I'm not going to give you a dissertation on this.
We're going to feed it to you a little time. We're going to put some on confidential. We're going to put a special on confidential.
So a total eclipse is when the moon passes between the sun and earth. Obviously it'll darken out. They usually are from 3 minutes to 4 minutes. So on April 8th, down from Mexico, coming up, going across some of the East Coast, upper East Coast, like in my state of New Hampshire, where Rudy and Ted and the team are going to come.
And we spent a lot of time and
We're only going to see 95% of, so it's called a partial eclipse. You might say, well, just stay home. You'll see 95%. You don't get all, there's still enough sunlight coming through that you won't see all the changes. So we're going to go to what we call the North Country, and we're going to see a total eclipse. So the whole sun will be blocked out. It'll get a little cooler. We'll be able to see a corona, not the rim of the sun. It's the corona, which scientists by the truckload can't wait to observe this, study the corona. Animals are going to get confused. Remember, this is at like a little after 3 in the afternoon. So animals will get very silent. And then when the sun starts to shine again, they'll start barking or howling. Up in the North Country, we may have bison. My friend has a bison farm. So that's a total eclipse. Very exciting. I'm like, my whole family is getting into this. Rudy is now like researching, watching documentaries. We get the glasses, we get the stuff to go over our cameras. So he is actually live on WABCradio.com at the time, but he's going to be describing it And Ted and I are going to be filming for you guys for the night show, America's Mayor Live. So you'll be able to.
I don't know
see
what's going to happen, Ted, because in the middle of my WABCradio.com broadcast, we're going to go dark.
It's gonna bring us back to like the old days when everything was kind of done over the radio, right? We have to describe it.
So we'll
We'll have to listen to old
have to get
tapes.
like a lamp or something, or maybe we should use candles.
Now, a lunar eclipse, which I've seen many lunar eclipses, and that's when the Earth is positioned precisely between the moon and the sun, and the Earth's shadow falls on the moon. It usually comes out red. So I've seen a number of lunar eclipses. But in my state, we will not see another total eclipse until 2079. I'm going to be in heaven at that time. So this is a rare opportunity. It's a nice to get
I
children
should put on the
involved.
St. Matthew Passion again, just to sort of lock that. in.
I heard many airlines won't be flying at that time, but Delta is offering 2 flights at the time of some of the
Dark?
eclipses too. I don't know. People have to figure it out.
It's dark. You can't see anything.
Won't be. They're gonna. I assume they're gonna be at their.
Oh, they're
height
going to get
they need
closer.
to be, or up high, and let their
So,
passengers watch.
Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do, partially on here and partially on confidential, because I'm working on it now. I love to do. So when I get like this equipment here and all this, I always go to the. Well, I go online and I go to consumer advocates and I go the best. What's the best microphone? So now I'm working on. I've set up my iPhone. I'm all ready with my iPhone. I have the two different methods to use my iPhone. You have to, first of all, first thing you've got to understand and remember is you have to wear glasses during the total, before the total eclipse.
From one of the audience
Before the total eclipse. You do not take those glasses off
until it's dark.
until even the little surrounding, so the moon's going to come like this, right? So it's going to cover it, but then there's going to be a little sprinkled out. You got to wait until that's totally covered. Then you can take the glasses
Yeah.
off. Okay.
What's the question?
Well, you don't have to, but you're not going to see.
Well, that was my question, and the mayor actually answered it. They're recommending glasses, and my question was, this is covering up the sun. Why would we have to wear glasses?
Yeah. When
You don't wear it during the totality.
the sun emits radiation, and there's other harmful things. So it'll burn your eyes if you're staring at the sun. So you do
That's
have to wear the glasses until total darkness.
Truth is, when you look at the sun, even normally, you should wear at least Polaroid glasses. Normally, it's not going to do like permanent damage, but it could do damage.
Yeah.
You should always wear something to protect yourself against the.
Eyes
Direct-
are so conditioned. I wear sunglasses all the time because I've done it since I was a little girl.
You should
So when
wear
I go
something.
out without sunglasses, I feel like, oh God, I can't see. I can't see.
So here are the quick ones to know right away, so you can get them. Definitely get yourself a pair of glasses. It should
ICO.
I
ISO, excuse me.
iOS, isn't it?
What kind
ISO.
what kind of glasses? Not regular sunglasses?
No, ISO
No, not regular sunglasses. They have,
certified,
yeah, they're supposed to be.
and they're very cheap. $7, $6,
I paid
$5.
$6 at Walmart.
So similar to okay, so very cheap.
Safety.
So what else would you recommend people
Well,
take with
now,
them?
if you want to film it with your iPhone, you have to get a filter for the iPhone, and that again is $6 or $8. And if you want to get a little more, intricate, for about $30, you can get a couple of filters, so you and your friend can have one, and you'll also get the app on your iPhone, or there's one for Android, and you can use the app to help you photograph it. And then they suggest that you put your iPhone in a small tripod. I think it comes with the tripod, and this is like a $32 thing. It's not very expensive. That's if you want to photograph it.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about photographing it is you can set it on a tripod, you can do a little advanced thinking, and just leave it there. And you don't have to you can watch.
Yeah.
So you can make a little record.
Enjoy what's happening It's pretty fascinating when you
Yeah, you don't want to spend all your time.
of the Earth, and remember the moon circulates on an axis, on a tilt. So it's just really amazing that we're going to be able to see.
Then you have
this.
two other possibilities, right? You have binoculars and you have
But please remember, just because you're looking through a phone or a binocular, that's not protection for your eyes. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So
Okay.
there are three other possibilities, right? I was talking about an iPhone. You could use a regular, you get a much better picture, DSLR camera or mirrorless camera. In that case, you have to get a filter lens. Just put it on a filter lens. Again, they're not that expensive. You put it on a tripod, leave it on the tripod, focus it on the moon, and forget it. So you can watch it and enjoy it. And when you come back, you'll have a nice little video. And if you don't have a nice little video, you'll have the memory, and there'll be 1,000 nice little videos you can probably buy or get for free. Finally, you make a choice between binoculars, if you want, or telescope. And believe it or not, I think binoculars are better and cheaper. I think binoculars are better because binoculars give you you can see almost a complete scope of it with the binoculars, just a little closer. So with the binoculars, you could go back and forth much more easily than with the telescope, which gives you a smaller scope, which you would only be doing if you're doing like a scientific analysis. You're trying to examine some of the corona or something like that. So we'll talk more about it, but it really is going to be fascinating. And
a lot of fun, and it's a family activity. Like I said, a lot of my family members are going to be with us while we're filming it, and it's just a lot of fun.
And in contemplating this, the night before, I started reading about it on Saturday night. So Sunday, when I went to mass, I was sitting there at one point with my head down, and people thought I wasn't sleeping. I was actually meditating about. What am I meditating about? I meditate in church because I studied to be a priest. I was taught to meditate.
That's what I told my teacher in class, Mayor.
I know.
I was do that eraser.
I was meditating about how small we are.
Yeah.
Now, there are many beautiful things that participating in this can bring to you, including. Now, please don't get angry at me, all of you that are brainwashed, but including the con job of climate change.
I don't think those people watch.
Yeah, I know. Someday I'll explain. Very soon, I'm going to explain to you the con job of climate change. But in any event, it gives you a sense of how small you are in this grand universe. But then, because God put his finger on us, how important we are. Of all the creatures that he created, who else did he give
reasoning? Yeah.
Who did he give this to? Now, animals have fine brains, but I haven't read cat yet, or horse.
We're
Notice I haven't met
being that can reason.
I haven't mentioned dogs, so I'm convinced I could teach them how to write.
Yeah.
But I mean, it
God also gave us the ability to be free thinkers, which a lot of Americans have not done in the last 3 years.
You think of the beauty of that first chapter of Genesis. God made the heavens and the earth. Man.
Well, I know we're coming to the end of the show.
Beautiful.
So thank you for having me on. I haven't been on your show in quite a while.
They're going to change because we're coming toward the holidays, and I need you
Tomorrow, come back and talk about an annular eclipse.
Yeah, and then I want you to talk about Easter a bit, okay? And maybe we got to get into pet
stuff like a bunny.
We got to get
your granddaughter likes to go hop, 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 hop.
Oh, we got to get Gracie on. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Pleasure.
Take your fruit.
I didn't take one.
Take your fruit.
Okay. Okay, Daddy.
Usually she's the one because she's the doctor. Did you take your inhaler yet?
Yeah.
Mayor, I mean, you're going to be nationally syndicated during this eclipse. You're going to be on the radio. It's going to it's like the old days before TV. Anything that happened, if the people were going to hear about it, it was going to be through radio. So in a way, this is going to take us back to the 1930s, 1940s. Are you prepared?
Oh yeah, that's why I'm
describe this to go through this experience.
I've been studying it. And it's been wonderful for me because This is an area, I mean, I know a lot about a lot of things, but this is an area that I did a little astronomy. I had when I lived out in the Hamptons, I had a telescope and tried to find things. And I am completely fascinated about the immensity of the universe and completely humbled by it. Humbled by exactly who we are, what we are, but then in a strange way uplifted by what God has done for us, lifted us from his creation to this very special role that we have as having consciousness and the ability to record what we did, and which also allows us a much greater capacity to learn from our mistakes when we're good people. I think that's, just to get into Easter a bit, that's why, Jesus came to the sinners, because we're all sinners and we all have to improve. So there are a lot, when you get into trying to figure out both the scientific limits to our knowledge, and then you realize how limited our knowledge is. Any hesitation you have about the leap of faith goes away, because the minute you think like Marx, that since you can't figure God out, there can't be God because you're so damn smart. It's just the opposite, actually. There is a God because you can't figure it out, because it's beyond you. And by the way, you don't have a rational answer to it. You don't have a rational answer to how this all began. The Big Bang? Who pressed the button? Bangs just don't happen. Or just a bang? Who put the bang there? What banged? We could just... So, I think I can get anyone who is of good faith and rational mind to the point of at least being an agnostic. And then we'll start working on the rest of it if you'd like me to convert you. But okay. Now, I want to give you some good news from my good friend Steve Cortez, who I haven't heard from in a long time. Steve Cortez runs the League of American Workers, and he did a poll in Arizona. I don't know why. We'll have to find out why. Biden is losing by 4 points in one of the states that he stole last time. I wonder why he's losing in all the states that he stole. I wonder why he was losing in all those states the night of the election. I wonder how it was when they stopped the count, how it is that he was losing in all those states then. He's losing in all those states now. But when they stopped to count the vote and threw the Republicans out or locked them in cages, he won. Every one of them. What a coincidence. Wow. I wonder how that happened. And Trump must be crazy to think that he stole it. Even though he's got like that many affidavits from people who say their vote was stolen. Somebody voted for them. They didn't even vote, and somebody voted. You got a whole bunch of them. Oh, maybe this big. Maybe this big. I don't know. That's Trump. But here's the really good news that I like. In Arizona, on the issue of the economy, which I think it can't be that they rated ahead of the border, but he's killing them on the economy. Here was the question. Voters say they were better off under Trump than Biden by a stunning 53 to 35 margin. You see, that's the killer here. This is not a race where you got to do any speculating. Let's say this were, let's take Biden out of it. We don't have a demented, crooked, dishonest, pathetic creature in the White House who told the truth once about 40 years ago. We have a normal incumbent who has a mixed record, on the verge of maybe losing or winning. Nobody knows. We got a good challenging guy. Let's say DeSantis, a very successful governor. You like his ideas, you like but you never know. You never know. I'm just picking on Ron. Any one of them that's never been president, you do not know what they're going. It's always with a challenger. It's always a gamble. It can be a little gamble when you got a guy with a terrific record, or when you got with Biden, it's not much of a gamble because it's almost impossible to find someone worse, except maybe.
Why he picked her as VP. That's why she's VP, right?
I don't even have to say a name anymore. So I like to see that he's winning all of these states that, gosh, I thought he won. That's why they want to put me in jail, I think. Yeah, but that's part of it. I mean,
Well, it's not about
part of Fanny, the hoe's theory against me is because I was advocating for my client that the election was stolen from him, I'm a criminal. But what am I supposed to do as a lawyer? Advocate against? Well, now I did have evidence. I mean, I pointed to the evidence that I had, and the evidence that I had, including those women who were, counting up the votes a couple of times. They cut out a lot of that tape, and Ted and I had to discover it. They tried to sneak it past us.
That's right, Mayor. And let's clear one thing up. This isn't about what you believe or don't believe, right? Some people believe the election was fair, but that's just a belief. You know what you know. People brought this to your attention.
You know,
so it's not a belief for you. It's what you know to be true.
The thing about those women are, it's my opinion. It's my opinion. You can go look on tape for yourself. You decide. You decide, were they counting the votes more than one time or weren't they? You can see it with the tape that I retained. But looks like the tape they turned over to the people that want to take my bar association license away, they edited that out, and the bar association doesn't seem to be making any attempt to get it.
And have you had a chance in any courtroom to argue
Not yet,
based off the facts?
No, it's not in the court yet. It's for a hearing officer. Hearing officer has no interest in the missing tape. The hearing officer is a formally appointed Democratic judge from, I think, Brooklyn, which would tell you she's a Democrat before she's a judge, or she's a judge because she's the Democrat. Because the Democrat county leader would have to have appointed. You have to understand that our judgeships in Manhattan, the Bronx, Queens, and Brooklyn are basically controlled in a fascist manner by the Democrat Party. And generally, unless there's a little skirmish in the Democrat Party, there's no election. Engoron, who came up with this money out of thin air, has run for judge 3 times. He's never been opposed. So the public, the voters have never selected him. The leader of the Brooklyn Democrat Party selected him, just like the person who's going to decide whether I can remain a lawyer or not. What do you think she's going to decide? You want to bet on that one? What do you think?
Well,
you think there's any chance? No.
Well, Mayor,
do you know in the J6 cases, over 100 went to trial? There's not a single acquittal in a jury in the District of Columbia.
Sick.
You know what their rate is of conviction? 63% in normal cases, which means they're one shitty U.S. attorney's office.
I was going to say, man.
My rate was over 90%.
Wow.
I think 96, 97.
Wow.
I mean, when we lost a case, it was a major
blow.
review. What the hell's wrong? What do we do?
Wow.
And sometimes when we lost a case, we realized we should have.
Wow.
We didn't review it as well in advance. It was always a learning experience, but it was a shocker. It was a shocker.
Wow. I'm going to look. Wow. So
you tell me the juries in DC are fair. 100 trials, all convictions.
Wow. There's something off. There's something wrong.
And those cases are jerky. You've seen you've seen the people invited in, the doors open.
Yeah. It's actually, it's wrong.
You know what burned that day?
Yeah.
I don't know. Every time Black Lives Matter was around for 15 minutes, something burns down.
One person died that day, if I'm correct, right?
No, 4 people died. They were all Trump people.
Four died that day.
Yeah, well, one definitely was murdered.
One was shot in cold blood.
Ashley Babbitt was murdered.
One person
I
was killed.
believe, allegedly, or you could make a good first degree murder case. The young woman who was stomped to death would be a little.
That's right.
A little more arguable, but she was beaten by a cop, and there's pictures of it, and that was covered up. And then 2 others died of a heart attack, both of them Trump people.
Wow.
All of the 4 claimed to have been killed by Trump people. Those were all lies, including the most famous one, who actually got buried under the Capitol dome, and he actually died, according to the D.C. coroner, of natural causes. Had nothing to do with what happened that day.
That is absurd. And speaking of,
And that was Nancy Pelosi and our Hollywood daughter trying to create a reason why Trump could never be president by getting him impeached again. So a second impeachment would have made it impossible. Impeachment would have made it impossible to run for president again. And then they came up with this stupid idea of an insurrection.
the term that they needed
Think
because
about this. They spent more money on this investigation than any investigation in American history.
wow,
And they haven't been able to charge one person with insurrection.
wow,
They haven't been able to prove insurrection. So having failed all of that, they now have these scumbuckets just say insurrection. They don't prove it. They haven't proved it. They just say it. And it was not an insurrection. I mean, you don't do an insurrection without a gun. I'm sorry. And what did they take? They delayed the vote. That's not an insurrection, delaying the vote.
wow.
I think that is going to turn out to be, in the long run, one of the great scandals in American history, like the internment of the Japanese. Those people have been tortured.
Yeah.
And there may be a few that have done things. I mean, there are probably more than a few that done things they shouldn't have done. And there may be a few that deserve punishment of some kind. But I think they've all been already punished way more than whatever it is they did. They should all be let out. I mean, a year in jail. Gosh almighty. I mean, they got somebody beat the living daylights out of a woman the other day. He'd been arrested 5 times for doing the same thing and back out on the street. They set a bail for him. That's after bashing the skull of 4 women in. Now, what do you think of this Rona thing? I wanted Dr. Maria on this one, but she's working on something else. This Rona thing really, we're not Rona fans, and we're not Rona enemies. I would say I don't know what we are.
Yeah. I would say that's right.
I mean, I don't wish her harm or anything. I just think I thought she could have done a better job for the president with the RNC. I thought she could have gotten it under better control all during his presidency and during the election battle. And I do sympathize with her a bit over the contested races, because as the head of the RNC, it is really close as to what your role is if you have an incumbent president, but not really an incumbent president, and then a group of challengers. And that's sort of an unprecedented role. So I used to get angry at her during that. I mean, angry internally, not with her. But I never really, I thought the bigger problem was she could have been more supportive during the presidency, when an awful lot of RNC traders got into the White House and leaked on them and did a lot of stuff. But I don't think it was her. And I think there were a lot of good things she did. But in any event, I thought it was time for her to go. Now, NBC, When I first heard that NBC and CBS and MSNBC picked her up, I sort of made a joke and I said, of course, that's where she would go, to the other side. But now I find their reaction frightening. They can't have a Republican. I mean, she's not a far out right winger. I mean, if anything, the Republicans are mad at her for leaning a little bit
To the
too much to their side. I mean,
they call her an election.
and I don't think, and I, as I said, I have certain things about her that I'm not. I almost say I'm not sure of, as opposed to absolutely sure of. But none of them rise to the level of the woman should never have a job again. I don't know where this started, where they want to take your living away from you over politics, which is what they've done to me.
Well, so that's why I don't know.
They
Look,
took my profession away from me.
and I don't know.
They took away from me the thing I love to do. I love doing this, what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
But I love being a lawyer more.
Yeah.
I loved it. I love writing briefs. I loved arguing cases. I love solving people's legal problems. When I had a really difficult case and I saw the answer to it, it was like just a great, sometimes happen in the shower. We can argue this and we'll win. But what is this? They want to destroy her. She can't, MSNBC has to have all, I mean, they don't realize they're extremists. I mean, they're extreme left.
It's hard for us. And let's see.
I mean, Joe, what's his name? Joe Dopey.
Let's hear from
Joe Dopey.
What is it? Crazy Mika and
Mika Poopa.
And Joe. Let's hear from them. This is
Mika
their
Poopa
reaction.
And Joe Crazy.
Here's their reaction to NBC hiring Ronna Romney McDaniel.
RNC chairwoman Ronna McDaniel. She was, of course, on Sunday's Meet the Press. Her first appearance since NBC News hired her as a political analyst. We've, as we said earlier today, been inundated with calls throughout the weekend about NBC's decision to hire Ronna McDaniel. We learned of the hiring when we read about it in the press on Friday. We weren't asked about our opinion on the hiring, but if we were, we would have strongly objected for several reasons, including, but not limited to, Ms. McDaniel's role in Donald Trump's fake elector scheme and her pressuring of election officials to not certify election results.
And what she said right there kind of explains exactly what we are saying and why we feel the way we do. I mean, we are all for NBC News seeking out conservative Republican voices. We need that for balance in all of our coverage, including election coverage. But it should actually be a conservative Republicans, not a person who used her position of power to be an anti-democracy election denier. It goes without saying that she will not be a guest on Morning Joe in her capacity as a paid contributor. And we do hope that this decision will be reversed.
Wow.
How many Democrat election deniers have they had on their show? Have they had Hillary Clinton on the show? She's a damn election denier.
That is nuts.
Have they had Benny Thompson, a liar on the show? He's an election denier. What the hell are they talking about, election denier? Joe Biden's an election denier. He denied the 2016 election. I mean, this is completely ridiculous. He's an election denier. First of all, that's not a crime to be an election. You're allowed to have opinions in this country, fascists. You're two stupid fascists. I don't know if the two of you together, if we counted up the IQ, would get to 100. Because Mika is really pulling you down, Joe. I mean, these people are so damn stupid. This is a democracy? You're not allowed to have the opinion that election was stolen, when there is certainly evidence on which it can be based. You can argue with it, but there is circumstantial evidence that suggests it was stolen. At midnight, he was ahead in more than enough states to win. They called off the voting in those states, and only in those states, and he lost every one of them. even though one of them, mathematicians say it's mathematically impossible for him to have lost it. That was Pennsylvania, where he was ahead by 750,000 votes. Now, to take something like that and say, if you're an election denier, if you believe the election was rigged, you're some kind of a traitor or something. No, I think supporting a president that gives away the Bagram Air Base when it would be of massive importance to us in defending us against China makes you somebody who shouldn't be on television and a traitor to the United States. I think covering up all the people that he had killed in Afghanistan because of the lying and the decisions he made is a much better reason for taking you off television. I think not reporting to the public that it is quite demonstrably true that Putin would never have invaded Ukraine under Trump for the simple reason that he could have and he didn't, and he invaded under every other president. How do you account for the fact that there's one missing Trump? Maybe he was scared of Trump, huh? You won't report that. I suggest that's censorship and that you deserve to be fired as a reporter for not covering that fact. I think what you did to me over Russian collusion should get you fired because you defamed me and you knew I wasn't a Russian agent. Joe Scarborough supported me when I ran for president. You think I'm a Russian agent, then you've really gone nuts. Something has happened to your brain. This is really pathetic, this election denier crap. This is really pathetic. And now keeping your mouth shut when they're trying to take his property away. They're trying to take his property away for something they call fraud, when the definition of fraud is to induce a loss, and there was no loss. So is that, am I wrong? Are these people just malicious or are they stupid? What do you say, Ted? How can you go crazy? Breaking in New York, NYPD officer shot in stomach, killed by career criminal during traffic stop in Queens, New York Post. Right now.
Sad news report, Mayor. That's right. You
Now
see it on the screen.
It's my car.
An NYPD
on my
officer,
way, probably to Jamaica Hospital.
An NYPD officer was shot and killed by a career criminal during a traffic stop in Queens on Monday evening, according to law enforcement.
On Monday evening.
That's tonight. The 34-year-old suspect, who had 21 prior arrests, shot through the window of the vehicle while seated in a passenger seat, striking the uniformed officer in the stomach around 5:50 p.m. Eastern, near 1919 Mott Avenue in Far Rockaway.
Yeah, I know exactly where that is.
The bullet hit the 31-year-old
They would have
officer
taken him
under his police vest.
With any chance to Jamaica Hospital. That's the closest trauma center. Jamaica Hospital, many of you know because you pass it on the way to JFK. When you get on the expressway headed to JFK, it's about halfway to JFK on the right. Good hospital. I've been there many times for police officers, and I'm looking at.
The police officer was rushed to Jamaica Hospital.
Yep,
you mentioned it, where he was unfortunately later pronounced dead.
And I've been there too many times with police officers pronounced dead and watching them die.
The suspect was also taken to Jamaica Hospital. His condition is not known at the time.
Yeah.
This suspect was previously released from a New York prison in 2021 after serving 5 years behind bars for criminal possession of a controlled substance.
Has he been arrested since then?
That is the question.
Because is this a brag?
That is the question.
Bail situation? An awful lot of arrests, and he's running around. There's an awful lot of arrests.
21. Can you imagine?
21 arrests or convictions.
21 arrests.
And how long?
He's 34 years old. How do you get arrested 21 times? I couldn't even.
Well,
That's
he probably,
amazing.
and they're not counting his juveniles.
Yeah.
His juveniles are under seal. So
Yeah.
we're counting, depending on the law at the time, we're counting you say he's 34?
Yeah.
So we're counting his arrests in 14, 15, 16 years. We're counting his arrests in 16 years.
It's over 1 a year. And well, 5 years he was in prison. So take off those 5 years.
He's a crime machine. Now, I want you to do the following, and when we start getting realistic about criminals and not be the criminal lovers like the Democratic Party. If he got arrested, how many times?
21.
How many crimes do you think he committed? You think he got arrested for every crime he committed?
Didn't even think of that, Mayor. That's how you thought.
I
how
don't
many?
know the nature of the crime, but like if he's a burglar, he probably committed 10 to 20.
Yeah. Well, he shot and killed a cop, so he must be. Do you think there's a chance he was?
I would say, I don't even know anything about this.
Yeah.
If it was a traffic stop, he's wanted for something.
Something serious.
Why would he be so afraid and put a bullet in the cop's stomach for a traffic stop? Or there were drugs in the car, heavy amount of drugs in the car.
That we're going to put you around for a long time.
Illegal guns. The shooting of the cop indicates there's something else involved here. Unless he's crazy, and we have those, you don't shoot a cop over a traffic stop.
Also, a reminder of what guts police officers have, what they have to deal with day to day.
When you say traffic stop, and you say the cop comes up and he's maybe his gun out or whatever, and you say that's excessive. Will you please remember this?
Yeah, I always put my hand.
Every confrontation for a police officer, he could die.
It's insane to think about.
Every time he moves and does something, he's in jeopardy, and he therefore has to be aware of that if he wants to go home to his wife and his children. Let me tell you that before tomorrow is out, Frank Siller for Tunnel to Towers will be at the home of this police officer, and he will be in the process of paying off the mortgage on his home, and then meeting with, if there's a widow or mother and father, meeting with them and telling them how he's going to help them. And that's what you do when you contribute. And I don't mind at all doing this advertisement right now because it's right on point. That's what you do when you send $11 to T2T.org. You make it possible for Frank, and it's almost always Frank himself, although if he's in Europe or something, then one of his brothers or sisters will go, because it's a family endeavor, even though now it's a gigantic organization. And he will show up, and he will either be in the process of paying off the mortgage, or he will have on his own figured out where the mortgage is, made arrangements to pay it off, and go tell them.
Wow.
And then he will help direct a lot of other help to them. And he does the same thing for soldiers, sailors, and he does a similar thing when there's a catastrophic injury, where he shows up and he tries to work out the kind of home they're going to need. And he does it all because of the memory of his brother, who ran to the Twin Towers when he was off duty and gave up his life to save people. Those are the kind of good people we have in New York that we should remember. So I'm going to say that, can we get any more on that? I'm going to look at the story, because sometimes I can see, like the minute I saw Queens, I knew it was Jamaica Hospital, and you don't know how many of these I did. 48 police officers, I believe, died in the line of duty while I was the mayor, not considering September 11.
Wow, 48?
48, and about an equal number of firefighters. And I was always there. I was always there immediately. And I'm not telling you that for that was my duty. And anybody who isn't, don't vote for them. They don't have a heart. It was my duty because they're the ones who were putting their lives at risk. And I was asking more of them than other mayors were. I was asking them to intervene and stop crimes, not just write them down. Sometime I'll explain to you the difference between the method of policing that I use and the method of policing that is generally used, and the thing that everyone misses about it that makes it work, which is why when I got them in foreign countries to do it, we got a reduction like in Medellin, 52%. You do what I tell you. We can bring down crime anywhere.
And you led by example, Mayor.
Got to do what I tell you. You can't go off crazy.
But you led by example.
Did they give the name of the police officer
Well,
yet?
that's what we're waiting on. Do not have.
Usually they don't because, and I'm sure Mayor Adams does this. He was a police officer. The mayor will try very, very hard to go to the home of the widow or the mother or father, or they're at the hospital, or they'll send a car. I mean, I remember
I can
situations
imagine.
where you would call up and reach the widow because it happened real quick and say, do you want to come to the hospital and see him? Or would you rather I come and see you there? And almost always, even though the person is dead, they want to come and see the dead body and say goodbye. It's a very, very strange thing. I remember it happened with my mother and my father. My mother and I were at my father's hospital bed, and he had cancer, and we knew he was dying, but he had actually taken a turn in the right direction. So the doctor said, why don't you go home and go get some sleep? I drove my mother to her home in Queens, and I drove to Manhattan, just the two of us. And 2 hours later, they called us and my father had died. And I always regretted our leaving, but see, my mother needed to sleep, and it seemed like he was going to be around for a couple more days. He died without waking up, which made it easier. By the way, that my father's birthday is today, 25th of March. And the date of his death is a month from now, April 25th.
Today, to the day. This is your father's birthday.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, let's wish him a happy birthday.
Yeah. Araldo, happy birthday.
How do you spell his name?
Well, actually, I don't know on his birth certificate if it's Harold, Harld, or it's Araldo, Aroldo. Because my grandfather's name,
Aroldo.
Aroldo, which becomes Harold in English.
Harold, not Harry. Harold.
Oh my goodness! If you call my father Harry, you better stop. You better. He never liked Harry.
How old would he have been today?
Oh gosh, well he was 73. We'll figure it out. He was born in 1908. You go figure it out.
Gosh, I was never
Well,
alive.
I was to tell you,
Yes, but
proposing.
but we are in the middle of describing a police officer
Oh,
having been killed.
that's sad. I'm so sorry.
It's
I'm
not
so
anything frivolous. Okay.
okay.
All right. Is this serious?
Well, this is not
What?
really that serious, except I've been asked to cover for Lou Dobbs tomorrow night
Nice. Congratulations.
on Real America Voice. And guess you're going to be one of my guests.
Oh,
I guess you were slated for tomorrow. I get the schedule all mixed up. So 2:00 tomorrow, we're going to pre-tape, but Real America Voice at 7 p.m. I'll be hosting for Lou Dobbs.
and then you all have to watch it, and I'll be on,
You'll be
and she's going to do a contentious interview as if she was Rachel Madcow. You want to do a Rachel Madcow interview?
Wow. So that's Lou Dobbs on RAV. And what time is Lou Dobbs on? Do we know? So 7 p.m. tomorrow. Wow. So you'll get Dr. Maria and the mayor at 7 over on RAV. And then at 8:00, come right back over to your platform of choice.
And then I'll be on between 3 and 4 on radio. You can't get rid of me.
America's Mayor Live. And today would be his 116th birthday of Mr. Araldo Harold Giuliani, the father of Mayor Rudy Giuliani,
Grandfather of Andrew.
the grandfather of Andrew and Caroline,
And the
and the great
great-grandfather
grandfather
of Princess Grace.
of Gracie. Wow. So a busy day in the news, a busy evening. Unfortunate news to end the night. Again, an NYPD officer has been shot and succumbed to his injuries by a
This is just 24 minutes
in
ago.
Queens.
Want me to get one right up to date here? 24 minutes ago? 19 minutes ago, even. Let's look at this. 19 minutes ago. 19 minutes ago. Let's see what we got.
So thanks for joining us on
The
another.
authorities arrived in the Far Rockaway neighborhood at about 6 p.m. and found the police officer and a man wounded by gunfire. A police officer. This is the New York Times release. So I think on this we can use the Times. A police officer died on Monday after being shot during a traffic stop in Queens. The suspected gunman, who was also wounded, was the first to fire his gun on Monday evening during the car stop in Far Rockaway, during the officer in the torso below his protected vest. Whoa. Police Commissioner Edward A. Caban said at a news conference at Jamaica Hospital, where the officer was taken, another officer returned fire, striking the man who was also taken to Jamaica Hospital, where he is being treated for his injuries. This is a devastating moment, said Mayor Eric Adams, who also spoke at the news conference. We have to bury another cop. I'm sorry, Mayor. That's the whole story so far. I think maybe it's I think it's maybe I'm just gonna say I get it. I was gonna say we'll close with a prayer. It is Holy Week, and I just wanted to see if there was anything else here, anything with more detail in it.
Well, we do know
3 hours, 46 minutes, 19 minutes ago.
we'll read up all on this, and then tomorrow night, we can give a further picture maybe of what's happened. We're well into soccer time. We want to thank everyone for joining us on what's been a very busy Monday.
Yeah.
And
Well,
what a way to,
let's
unfortunate way to end
we,
it.
We don't know the police officer's name, and we don't know his rank or the circumstances. But let's say a little prayer for him. In whatever way you pray, and I'll pray my way, and you can adopt yours. I pray to Jesus, and I ask Jesus to receive him into paradise and grant him mercy and give him the benefit of what he did in life, which is different than others. He did something that you ask or that you instruct us is the greatest form of love, right? Laying down your life for your friend. Well, he did that for a living. He put his life at risk for his friends, meaning the people in New York, every day that he put on that uniform and every day that he went out. I don't know what kind of family he has, but I know every time he left, they worried. And every time he came home, they breathed a sigh of relief, because I grew up in a family with 4 uncles who were police officers, and I remember what their wives went through. One was a firefighter. Remember his serious injuries. They're different. They're entitled to more respect. Police officers are entitled to more respect than you and I, because I don't get dressed every day, go out and put my life at risk. They do. And because of that, we hang on to whatever civilization we have left here in America. It's fast leaving us. He's one of the reasons we can hang on to it. So I think he'll be received in a beautiful way. So let's just we'll just say, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. And I'll add, for thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. Please grant mercy to this wonderful man. And God bless America. We'll see you tomorrow. is to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. It was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God